The Fishing Paper Show is proudly brought to you by United Fisheries, bringing fresh fish to your plate.
Here's a favourite little recipe of mine, and it goes really well on those lazy summer afternoons. Smoked trout pate. Now it's really easy to prepare, it's very tasty, and it's loved by all. The beauty of this recipe is it all comes together in the food processor. Now for a pate base, I'm starting with 250 grams of cream cheese, which goes into the processor first. To this we want to add equal quantities of smoked fish, so I'm using the whole trout, which I've already flaked, to remove the bones. For some flavour, I'm going to grate into that some fresh ginger, always goes well with fish. So about a teaspoon is what we're after. And something that complements that very well is crushed garlic. So a good sized clove. The lovely thing about this recipe is that you don't have to be exact with your measurements. So my style of cooking, a dollop of sweet chilli sauce. Every household should have plenty of tomato sauce, so a good splodge of train smash. I love capers, and capers love fish. So a couple of teaspoons of roughly chopped capers to the mix. And to give it a bit of lift, a couple of roughly chopped spring onions. Now all that's required is to give it a good zap in the blender until we get a nice smooth paste forming. There you have it, it's as easy as that. Now you can't smell that, but you can see it. And all I can say is it not only looks good, it smells sensational. But of course the real test is in the taste. Now these go perfect on crackers or toast. Gotcha, it's good. And what's better, it's perfect when washed down with an ice cold beer. Bon appetit. Well, there you go, that was very tasty. Now Simon's gift to the shed this week seemed or proved very prophetic. He has been sitting here for a long wait, so there you can have it back.
Thank you.
Nice to have you on the show. Before we talk about your handy tips for this week, Peter, you wanted to finish off with the power. What are the actual regulations in terms of size limits and numbers?
Yeah, people should remember that the maximum daily limit is 10 power and the size limit is 125 millimetres.
All right. Now, Simon, tips for the summer, people heading out on holiday, sea fishing, what have you got for us?
Well,
actually, I'll take that back because it will come in handy.
Oh. I thought it was time that we probably revisited flasher rigs.
Yep.
Daryl, obviously with soft baiting and some of the slow jig, Lacana type fishing that's happening now, it was really worthwhile touching back on flasher rigs and how effective they can be.
I would describe them probably as a fairly universal rig. In other words, they do catch a wide variety of species, don't they?
Indeed they do. And just from the small selection we've got here, we've got flash rigs here for catching bait fish right the way through to a nice big flash rig from hot shots here, Pukarizer, designed for catching groper out in the deeper water. And they certainly work a treat, and we would always advise baiting them. just to add to the whole mix of what's going on there. You've got some nice flashy flashaboo on the hook, and what that's doing is working as an attractant, but also if a bait happens to get picked off, you've still got something down there that's working away, and a nice aggressive fish will grab it as well.
Where did these things have their origin?
I have no idea. I guess Japanese.
Yeah,
I would think, particularly looking at, sabiki rigs. That is where, certainly as a child, I started using for catching herrings and things off the wharves, and of course we still use them now for catching bait fish, for targeting snapper and the like.
They're absolutely dynamite the way they, particularly the sabikis, the way they work. I mean, if you want to get your kids into fishing, the Japanese have come up with leading technology in a lot of styles of fishing, haven't they? How does the actual flasher rig work? What is the principle behind it?
Well, the principle with a flasher rig, from my understanding, is an extra attractant and working on the aggression of the fish rather than a basic feeding instinct. So you've got something here that's really flashy, vibrant, moving around, and as I'm sure you've witnessed, if a fish is in a feeding mode, it'll take bait, but sometimes that bait just doesn't always work, and when they're sort of in a bit more of an aggressive frame of mind is where a flash rig will really come into its own.
For those that have never seen a flash rig, I won't take it out and untangle it, but it's essentially the ones for medium-sized fish come in 2 hooks. They can come in 3 hook rigs, can't they? And it's the basic old-fashioned, what do you call it, ledger rig.
Yep. Yeah, so sinker on the bottom. There's actually, I don't know if we can zoom in on it, there's a diagram on the back of the packet there. But essentially sinker, or some people will use a metal jig on the bottom, double it up again, so you've got an extra hook on the system, and just taking it down to the bottom. Moving it quietly will work. Some people will actually jig them if they've got a jig on, but generally there'll be enough current or tide working to give that some action and movement down there.
I'll tell you what, in terms of the Marlborough Sounds, and one flash rig I trialled for years for Black Magic, and these here are Black Magic rigs, is the TelstraClear, which for some reason in our area has proved an all-round beauty, and as a result of the TelstraClear proving so successful, Black Magic went on to develop the Snapper Terror, which is the one with the bigger hook.
Yes, and also marketed further south as the Cod Terror.
Yeah.
So exactly the same rig, but just a different name.
Yeah. Very effective. So if you get the opportunity heading out this summer and you want something to take with your fishing flasher rigs, now we've got to go for the pick of the week, and this week it is a beauty. There's Daryl Payne with a 280 kilogram bluefin tuna taken off the Hokitika Trench, and I'm sure that put up a fight. There you go, that was a pretty awesome fish, and I'm picking that wasn't taking on a flasher rig. Well, we've come to the end of the show. Time to thank the guest. With the flasher rigs, Peter, you got some words of wisdom there.
Yeah, if you're using flasher rigs to target blue cod, we'd recommend that you use at least a 6-bar row. Less chance of the blue cod swallowing it right down, and so you can release your small ones. And two hooks is enough on a flasher rig. It's not the law, but it's just good code of practice when you're fishing for blue cod. Good.
And any handy hints to go out on?
The only bit I'd add to the flasher rigs, Daryl, is always bait them.
Always bait them. Yep. And you can use a variety of baits as well. And if you're targeting snapper, it does pay to have a mixture of baits. All right, it's time to wrap the show up. So we're looking forward to having you back here for our final episode next week, when we have more fishing madness and mayhem. The Fishing Paper Show was proudly brought to you by United Fisheries Limited of Christchurch.